Hello everybody, it is me here, Mr. Truth, and in today's video I wanted to do something a bit different on this channel here. I am going to play as every single team in College Football 25 on the road to the College Football Playoffs game mode. And I know there have probably been streamers and other YouTubers alike that have done this, that have played, as every single team. But I think I could add sort of my own unique sort of twist to this. And I want to do some sort of, at least some form of in-depth breakdown of each team. And I have a system in place that I think I will be able to do that and get sort of how I feel each team plays down in a video. I like to call it the 4-factor system. So I'm going to introduce sort of the list of 4 factors that I believe will make or break a team. Number 1 is usability. How usable are they online? Are they viable? Can you beat the best teams in the game with this team? Or are they really bad? And if you're playing like an Alabama or an Ohio State or a Georgia, do you have absolutely no fucking chance of ever beating a team like that? The number 2 factor would be uniqueness. Scheme, players, playbook, the uniforms. How unique, how different is this team from every other team in College Football 25. The number 3 factor is going to be fun factor. How fun and high flying is this team to use? Are they really fun? They have really fun to use players, and they're really dominant on one side of the ball, and they're really fun to play like offense or defense with, or whatever the case may be. Or are they like boring and bland? Or are they just like every other fledgling program in the game? And the number 4 factor, one of the most important ones, is the ability to win. Can you beat people online on a consistent basis with this team? Or will you never ever have a chance of beating a really good player with a certain team? Now, the team will get an overall rating out of 10 at the conclusion of each video, but they're going to be rated on a scale from 10 for each of these factors. Like usability can be like a 5 out of 10, and uniqueness might be like a 9 out of 10. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the average out of 10 for each of the 4 factors, and that will be the final overall rating out of 10 of that team. So if every factor is like an 8, the team gets an 8. If it's a 7, it's a 7. You get the point. And I'm not going to do this in alphabetical order because I want a wheel spin to decide my fate, because I don't want to be like plain Jane. I don't want to be boring or vanilla whatsoever. I am letting a wheel decide what team I pick in each episode, and it's one take. If I get a really shit team, if I get like fucking Akron, I gotta play as Akron. And I want at least 5 games minimum. I think 5 games is sort of the perfect balance between, okay, you're not playing 100 games with this team and like ruining your record online because the team might be dog shit. And you can get a really good feel for some of the players, a really good feel for the scheme, what the team is all about, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and how fun they are to use online against other players. And if you can beat people consistently with that team, that's why the 4-factor system is in place for this series. It'll make it more fun. I promise, and the wheel spin sort of thing is also going to make it really, really fun. So without further ado, here is the first team. I'm going to cut to a live video of me, a live reaction of me spinning a wheel with every single team in the game. And here is the team that I landed on for episode number 1, folks. Alright folks, this wheel spin right here will determine the first ever team I use in this series. No more BS, folks. Here we go. What's the first team I will be playing as in this new series? It's going to be South Florida. Oh, it's going to be Temple. Okay, I thought it was going to be South Florida, but it is going to be Temple. That is the first team that we are going to use in this series, folks. Here we go. This is another one. He's actually not good, so I take it back. I take back what I said. This kid is a fucking scrub of a player, and that is an interception. I threw a pick. Yeah, that's great. It's a fucking just 11 at a speed burst there. So I thought he was open, but he had a speed burst. He got lucky. That was complete luck from this guy. Oh boy, alright. I already know I'm in for a long one. This is the first episode of this series, and we're already struggling. And I wouldn't have it, any other way to start this series. The rundown for this team, the basic, bare minimum, the essentials, the information you need to know about this team. The game classifies their offensive scheme as a spread and their defensive scheme as a base 3-4 defense. The best overall player on this Temple Owls team is right guard Wisdom Corshi, coming in at an 82 overall. He also happens to be the best player on offense there. Right guard, best player on offense. Isn't that just fucking great? Their best defensive player is Trey Thomas. He is a left end and is rated 78 overall, so you don't have much to work with on defense, and you'll see why a bit later in this video. And the next two are sort of subjective here, but in my opinion, the strongest position on this team would have to be halfback, and the weakest position on this team would have to be offensive tackle, both left tackle and right tackle. And once again, as I stated with the defense, you will see why a little later in this video. So let's just get straight into the offensive strategy. You know, what I've sort of noticed, what I've been trying to do with this team, my guide to attempting to win football games with this Temple Owls team in the online game modes. And man, this team is absolutely miserable to use on offense. I'm gonna warn you folks, right now, it's about to get ugly. Do not ever, and I mean ever, attempt to throw it deep, because A, you're never going to get enough time to do so, and B, even if you do you think that your receivers are going to get any sort of separation whatsoever? You got low-rated offensive tackles, you know, a couple of low-rated other players on the offense that aren't really gonna hold up against the better teams, so you're not going to get time to throw, and it's going to be absolutely abysmal. Just gotta take our check down, man. Just gotta take our check down. What I have been doing is I have been sticking to pulling guard run plays such as base and counter. Run the football. Run the football. Run a motherfucker over! Yeah, Littleton, power back, run the ball! And quick hitting RPOs to keep my opponent honest. Okay, who has who? We can leak him if the linebacker is not on him. There we go. Yes, we leaked the tight end out. Go, Morris. Go, Morris. Go, big boy. Yeah, let's go. Touchdown, Temple. You have to run the ball with this team. They have a pretty good combination of running backs. And adding on to all of this, Temple, you know, their playbook features a lot of 11 personnel and a bit of 12 personnel as well. Wing formations that were just, you know, made for running the football right up the middle of the field, which is really the strength, the core strength, the key thing about this team, what makes them at least somewhat tolerable. They're almost unusable, folks, but they're not completely and utterly unusable. But they're a really solid team when it comes to running the football. And in general, passing with this team is completely worthless, because your starting quarterback, who is Forrest Brock, is not really a good quarterback at all whatsoever. And you only have a single good wide receiver that is capable of stretching the field, folks. And that's I don't know how else to put it, but that is fucking bad news, folks. And Dante Wright is the only player that can stretch the field for this team. There's no other player that has any sort of speed. You have a freshman that's like 60 rated. There's no point putting him on the field because his route running is absolutely atrocious. So passing with this team, basically useless. But Littleton and Smith, your two running backs, provide a decent enough 1-2 punch in the backfield to consistently get yards. Littleton is going to be your power back. Antoine Littleton will be your power back. And Smith is going to be your speed back that you can maybe throw a little screen to, or just give it to him and let him make a play in space because of how athletic and how shifty he is. So a good 1-2 punch of running back. That's why I think the running back position on this team is definitely not the problem with this team. But unfortunately, against these higher rated teams, like some of the best teams in the game, you cannot afford to run any sort of long developing plays, because they'll more than likely be blown up every single time by a player who knows what he's doing. Maybe if you're facing a guy who's clueless and has no idea how to play defense, you'll be able to get away with running 30-yard pass plays and shot plays with terrible, offensive tackles. Or, maybe he's rushing 3 every play for, some unbeknownst reason. You're probably running the ball with this team, so he's probably not doing that, but Still, you get the point I'm trying to make. Long developing plays are something that just will not work with this team. Don't bother fucking doing it because you're never going to get it to work. Once you will either be sacked, you will throw a pick, or it will be an inaccurate ball from Brock, your quarterback. So just don't even bother running shitty-ass long developing plays because they don't work with this team, and you might as well not bother. And I also find the play-action game to be quite useless with this team, not only because of the lack of protection, but once again because of the lack of the true, any sort of true deep threat wide receiver. You got one guy, seriously, you got Dante Wright, and that's it. And he's only 80 rated. He's no world beater, folks. He's an 80 rated wideout. He is not going to torch any good corner in this game. He's not going to get separation against any really good elite corner in this game because the cornerback one for the other team is always going to be guarding him unless you line him up in the slot or something. But then that's useless. He's basically the fastest receiver on the team, and you're putting him in the slot. There's no point in doing that. You've got to line him up outside. And even then, he probably won't get separation against elite corners. And overall, with this offense, just stick to what works with this team, which, I mean, it's barely anything, but the stuff that does work are, the inside handoffs, the counters, the bases, the inside zones of this world, and quick RPO plays out in open space. Do not bother to do anything complicated or advanced with this team offensively, because if you do, you're going to be losing games in no time, folks. And that was sort of the strategy that I tried to employ and the things that I noticed using this team online offensively. Now let's get straight into defensive strategy with this team, folks. Just stay in zone coverage. Seriously, just stay in zone. Trying to rely on man coverage with this team is a one-way ticket to a free loss on your record. Go run cover 2 man. Go run cover 1 hole. Go run a blitz every play. If you are facing an elite team, you will get destroyed because your highest rated corner is like 70 overall. And there's no speed in the DB room. The corners are terrible. They got terrible coverage ratings. There's no point in running man coverage consistently. And not only is this team garbage in man coverage, but your DBs are going to frequently drop easy interceptions if you don't click on them in time. Okay, he's going to throw it. Picked off. Can you please intercept the ball? He threw it right fucking to you. You gotta make sure to click on use or intercept the pass because it gives you a higher, chance of picking the pass off. Don't rely on like your third best defensive back in a flat zone to jump the route and intercept it because he's going to fucking drop it. So click on and press Y at the right time and you should be rewarded by hauling in the interception, and maybe eventually you'll get the guy to catch a pick without you having to click on, but it's very few and, to be honest with you, very far between. And you also do not have the luxury of a good pass rush on this team. You have terrible outside linebackers, and you've got terrible pass rushers. Trey Thomas, 78 rated, he's a decent player, but the guy on the right side is like 68 rated. He's horrible. He sucks. So you're only really going to get sacks if your opponent is backing up 10 yards in the pocket when you're throwing up QB contains. If you're facing like a really quick quarterback, like you're facing a Jalen Milroe or Cameron Ward or someone like that, someone who is athletic and has athletic ability, you're going to need to throw contains up. They throw it every play. There we go. I mean, easy sacks. And maybe if he backs up 15 yards, you get a sack. You get a pity sack because the tackle is programmed to, if you drop back too far in the pocket, he's programmed to just disengage with the block because, I don't know, he thinks you're running or whatever. I don't know how that works. Maybe it's to punish the player dropping back, which would be a good thing. I don't know. I'm not going to think too far deep into it, but you're not going to get many sacks with this team is what I'm trying to say, unless the dude is sitting in the pocket, and not throwing it, taking too long to throw, or he's backing up in the pocket when you're in QB contain. But you got to mix in man blitzes from time to time. But once again, folks, do not call them too much, because if you do, your opponent is going to be in the end zone quicker than you can throw your controller in your monitor because of how wide open a player will be down the field. I mean, you might as well break everything. You might as well just quit playing games, because this DB room will leave you frustrated because they can't cover any elite player man on man. Don't over-rely on it, as I said earlier, and you got to mix the man blitz in on like certain situations to surprise and catch your opponent off guard. Because if you've been sitting in soft off coverage the entire game, and you run a blitz on like 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 8 or something like that, your opponent is going to be surprised. He's going to think he has all day to throw the football, and he's going to sit in that pocket and take a sack because he didn't know the blitz was coming, especially if you disguise it. Now, in obvious passing situations, you're going to need to call 3-3 men and drop 8 into coverage, because once again, the lack of any sort of pass rush is the main reason for this, as losing an extra player on the rush isn't a big deal whatsoever, because they probably weren't generating any pressure anyways.
We're going to rush 3, and if he runs, he's smart, but he's not going to run. He's going to call the same play over and over, and he's going to throw another interception because he just does not know what he's doing. He's thrown 3 interceptions, and he's still in the game, and he's quit. All right, there we go. Yeah!
So drop that extra dude, the extra DB or linebacker into coverage. For the love of all that is holy, please, for the love of God, drop the extra dude into coverage. If it's 3rd and 15, don't rush 4 because there will be a player open. Only rush 3 because you don't get pass rush anyways with Temple. There's no point in doing it. And once again, if someone's running, stick in 3-4 if you're facing someone who's just running inside. Your defensive tackles, I mean, once again, they're absolutely garbage, but from time to time, they'll shut a block and be able to make a decent play. And also, your linebackers are totally useless, and they might as well not even exist at all. Just about every single one of them are slow and atrocious in pass coverage and are terrible at rushing the quarterback. And your safeties, I guess they're just on the field, I suppose. They'll never make any sort of really spectacular or great plays that can help you win a game. So you're going to have to rely mostly on your user skill to generate most of, if not every single one of your turnovers, folks. Overall, for the defense for Temple, do not bother calling man coverage frequently. Stick in zone against pass-happy players and stick to 3-4 if they're running it effectively up the middle of the field. Now, drop 8 in coverage if you're playing someone who really isn't running it all that much, and just pray to God that you can click on in time to intercept passes that are thrown right at your DBs, because, folks, if you don't do that, they're not going to be able to catch the damn football because they got fucking pizza grease all over their goddamn hands. Now comes the time where I rate the team, rate the 4 factors for the team. Here we go, folks. Usability, I'm going to give them a 3 out of 10. I mean, it wasn't like, they were barely usable. Like, I wanted to put them at 2 or 1, but I at least won some games with this team. I at least won a couple games with this team. But it was abysmal. I was struggling in every game. I might have had a blowout one game, but I was struggling, and I wasn't feeling this team at all. Which leads me to the uniqueness. They're a 5 out of 10. And they're just plain Jane. They're basically just like every other team. That's why I'm giving them a 5. That's basically the average rating. Nothing unique about them. They don't have really any. Their uniforms are okay. Their playbook is generic. Their players are generic. Everything is generic. They're just a plain Jane vanilla team. Fun factor is going to be a 4 out of 10, folks. And you're going to be saying, oh, why is the fun factor higher than usability? Because I had one game where I was playing a dude who, was Marshall. I showed you in the clip, before this video officially started, really. Where, I was playing against the guy who was using Marshall, and I destroyed the guy. I mean, I might have thrown a pick on the first drive and called him garbage, but I proved it at the end of the game because I beat the guy pretty heftily, pretty easily, I meant to say. So fun factor is a 4 out of 10, which is not fun because it's a below average fun because 5 is average. That was meaning I wasn't having much fun using this team, and I had fun in a single game. I had fun in one game out of all the games I played with this fucking team. And ability to win would be a 3 out of 10. And you're probably saying, oh, well, you won most of your games. I mean, okay. That doesn't mean that you could beat someone who's... once again, I can't control the skill levels of the players that I'm going up against. So I feel like I was playing a lot of trash players, a lot of bad players who didn't really know what the fuck they were doing. I was able to win. I was able to win a couple of games with this team, and that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to beat really good players, is essentially what I am going to say. So their ability to win is rated at 3 out of 10. I would not recommend using this team. The overall final rating for the Temple Owls is a 3.75 out of 10. Basically, you get the average of all these numbers, and that is your overall rating. It is a 3.75. This is, I can already tell, probably going to be one of the worst 5 or 10 teams in the entire game to use because they're just not fun. There's nothing special about this team. There's nothing that makes it unique or cool or, interesting or fun to fucking use. Don't. Just stay away. Steer clear. There are other group of 5 programs that you could probably use that you would get much more fun out of, because this team is a dreck to play as. There's no point in playing as this team unless you're a fan of Temple, in which you don't exist, because I've never seen a Temple fan out in fucking wild, or I've never even seen a Temple fan online. So, man, it was just, using this team was a disgrace. I wanted to rip my fucking hair out of my head playing as Temple, man. That's going to do it for this video. They get a rating of 3.75 out of 10 in the first episode of this brand new series. So thank you all for watching. This has been Mr. Truth, and this was nothing but the truth.
Interesting. This guy's open. He doesn't have the arm strength, though. He has a cream puff arm. No way! I was pressing Y! Oh my god, what a bailout! Are you serious? I was camped right under. It was like a punt. Are you serious?